Kenny Omega can't save AEW all on his own, but it is a very good start. We're going to talk about it right here on the Ango Show. Okay, so I want to talk about Kenny Omega. There's tons and tons of rumors and speculation that Kenny Omega will return at AEW World's End, which makes a lot of sense because he will be performing at Wrestle Dynasty. And a lot of people seem to believe that Kenny Omega will go face-to-face with Okada when Okada is going into, the Continental Classic finals. A lot of people believe that Kenny Omega is going to get his revenge on Okada and the Elite, which obviously makes a lot of sense from a storyline perspective, considering that Kenny Omega did at one point show up on TV while he was battling diverticulitis, and then the Elite basically went to screw him over. It just makes a lot of sense, and I want to talk about why it's actually a good thing, but I'm also going to talk about why he alone cannot save AEW, and really what does AEW need from Kenny Omega. It's all going to be addressed in this video. So Kenny Omega returning to AEW is actually a really big deal because AEW is lacking in one department that I think is really, really hurting them, and that is the fact that they don't have any credible baby faces at the top of the card. And this is something that is absolutely needed in professional wrestling. No matter what anybody says, pro wrestling has always been built on the concept of the good guy versus the bad guy, and then eventually the good guy getting revenge and, winning. And so the thing is with AEW, there really hasn't been one major babyface star to kind of captain the ship, right? Now, I hate to do a comparison to WWE, but AEW is pretty much lacking what Cody is for WWE, and that's essentially what they need. So Kenny Omega coming back, feuding with the Elite is actually a really, really good idea. I really hope AEW goes all in on that storyline because it would be the right direction. But also at the same time, too, you guys got to understand that AEW currently, as it stands, because they're lacking baby faces, Kenny can't do it all on his own, right? Like, Kenny cannot just save AEW just by being in the storyline. What actually has to happen is that this has to be a relatively drawn out storyline. Like, it has to be a pretty long-term storyline. And the seeds have been planted, and which is a great thing because that's going to make this very logical. But we're going to need to see Kenny Omega come back and then at some point also face a little bit of adversity so that way the fans could really get behind the storyline. So what's actually really cool here is the fact that there is going to be an opportunity to create compelling TV long term that should get people focused on tuning in because they want to see Kenny Omega come back and actually do something really special here. So I think that is actually going to be a very strong storyline for AEW in 2025. Now, simultaneously, you got to remember the Death Riders storyline currently exists. And the reason why I'm even laughing at this notion is the fact that there's basically been 2 invasions in the company, and both of the stories are kind of falling flat. But the way for them to actually navigate this would be for the Death Riders and the Elite kind of form like a partnership or an alliance of some kind, which would then ultimately lead to Kenny Omega, Orange Cassidy, Darby Allin, and some others who would kind of be like the babyface group to go and win AEW back, which again, when you're thinking long term, this could be a really good way to kind of clean up the mess that has already started. So that is why I say Kenny Omega can't save AEW all on his own. This is going to take a little bit more effort for AEW in the sense that Kenny Omega will need to be backed by several baby faces who are well loved by the AEW audience. And at the same time, too, AEW has to make sure that on these shows where the storyline is taking place, there's also a lot of depth and a lot of other stuff that is on the card that makes it unique. So that way people are intrigued from beginning to end. Now, you guys got to remember, AEW is losing Rampage, and Rampage wasn't really that valuable of an hour of television for AEW, but because they are losing an hour of wrestling, they are going to need to spread this storyline between Collision and Dynamite, which is actually a really good opportunity to have some of those baby faces who are siding with Kenny to also have singles matches or tag team matches with those that are part of the Death Riders or the Elite. Now, when I say Kenny Omega can't save AEW, that is true. But what could happen here is if Tony Khan kind of assembles this group of like really top tier baby faces that are going after the company and they save the company, I think this is enough to get people intrigued. And I think that in itself is what it's going to take. This is going to have to be a collaborative effort. I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, Kenny Omega's back and the ratings are just going to jump up. No, but if you do everything correctly and play your cards right and you assemble a team of baby faces that are going to be really, really good here under Kenny Omega's leadership, I think we will get some very good results. And I think it could actually lead to a lot of momentum for the company. How AEW World's End finishes really matters because AEW does provide good pay-per-views, but now they're going to have to provide really good TV. This could be a very strong storyline, but again, you need to do more than just one good storyline. AEW has kind of missed the boat in regards to this because AEW could tell really good storylines, and we have seen some really good storylines, but then sometimes what you get on the other parts of the card doesn't necessarily have the same emphasis that perhaps the main storyline has. And I think it's really important that AEW tries to tie everything that's happening on the show in a way to what Kenny Omega's mission is, which is saving the company. So I'm actually excited about this. Like, I don't think people actually understand. I'm a huge fan of Kenny Omega. The company doesn't really have a top babyface that really stands out as the top star. Again, I know we don't want to compare to WWE, but WWE has Jey Uso, they have Cody Rhodes, they have Sami Zayn, like they have a plethora of top babyfaces. So for me, the way I see it is that AEW kind of needs to replicate that here. And, you know, for those who criticize the Death Rider storyline or the Elite Invasion, yeah, this would actually make up for it because you can really get things going on track. All it really takes is a clear-cut babyface who is going to do the job. For those who will say Darby Allin is that guy, I don't disagree with you. I think Darby is an excellent person. But Kenny's got to be leading the group. He's got to be leading the way, and then use that as a way to prop Darby Allin up to that next step. Same thing with Orange Cassidy. Use Kenny Omega to prop him up to the next step. So that's the way I would do it. That's the way I would look at it. Intertwine the Elite Invasion, intertwine the Death Riders invasion, put them all together. An unlikely alliance. Let Kenny Omega come back. Let Kenny Omega win the Continental Championship if you want. That's fine. It doesn't matter. The title is really not the most important thing here. Obviously, Kenny and Okada have had amazing matches before, so you're going to get really good matches out of this. That's the way I would do it. And I think for AEW, if they went this way, you will see a ratings increase. I think you will see eventually more people will want to come to your shows. Build your show around Kenny, but not Kenny alone. Build your show around Kenny with a whole bunch of other guys who need that. And trust me when I tell you guys, you will see some amazing results here.